a couple months ago, I think it was about 3 months ago, there was a reporter from based in the UK, or from the UK, I believe, uh, uh, and he works for Channel 4 News, and he did some amazing investigative reporting, I should say. And so what he did was he contacted an executive or somebody who was in top management at ExxonMobil. He's literally the top lobbyist at Exxon. He was. He contacted him. He pretended like he was a headhunter. He pretended like he was like offering him a new job in the field. And so he got him to sit down for an interview, and so it was basically him. He didn't think he was speaking to a reporter. He thought he was speaking to somebody in the industry who was looking to hire like a Exxon lobbyist. So he was very honest about his work at Exxon and what they've done. Give me 1 second. Yeah, all right. So yeah, he was very honest about the work that he's been doing at Exxon, and he's been working at Exxon since 2014. And so the like I said, what he said in this interview was it was damning, and honestly, it will radicalize anybody who cares about the climate and the literal climate apocalypse we're living through right now. This will radicalize anybody. So I'm going to play the first video. I broke it down into 3 different clips so I can react to some of the different points and in order. All right, so I'm going to play the first one here, and I'll come back and break it down.
The timing's vital. What may be America's greatest chance to combat the climate crisis is going through Congress right now. The video connection is set up. It's time to go to work.
Hi, good to see you.
How are you?
Moments later, Mr. McCoy will become one of the first ever executives to claim that ExxonMobil has aggressively fought climate science using front organizations to maximize shareholder profit.
Did we aggressively fight against some of the science? Yes. Did we join some of these shadow groups to work against some of the early efforts? Yes, that's true. But there's nothing illegal about that. We were looking out for our investments. We were looking out for our shareholders.
All right, so there was a lot that was said in this interview that was just outrageous. That might be like one of the most shocking, because they admit that he admits that they know we're in a climate apocalypse, that literally they're they're going to end all life on this planet if they continue what they're doing. They know that. They know what the scientists are saying is correct. They know that. And they know it's not like crazy, hyperbolic, over dramatic, whatever people try to use to dismiss all the research that's points to how serious this emergency is. They know all of that is true, but they're actively fighting against the science so that they can continue to do what they do. And like he said there, oh, it's not illegal. We're doing it, and we're doing it to protect our investments, secure our investments, and basically for money. So, yes, the climate apocalypse is real. The climate crisis is real. And currently we're in the middle of the 6th mass extinction event. Because during the billions of years that there've been life on this planet, or hundreds of millions of years there's been life on this planet, previous to this, there have been 5 other episodes where huge percentage of the living population on this planet was being wiped out. The last major mass extinction event was the when the dinosaurs went extinct, and almost all life on the planet went extinct at that time. And we are currently in the sixth mass extinction event because of the climate apocalypse and because of the rampant pollution. And so huge percentages of or huge numbers of species are going extinct, and giant percentages of populations of certain species are going are just dying off at a rapid rate, a extremely rapid rate. And of course, this is on top of the weather emergencies that are going on, the out of control wildfires, the historic storms that are been forming in oceans around the world, the flooding, the sea level rises, the all of these things, all these weather emergencies that are killing thousands of people around the world, and ruining the lives of many more people. All of these weather events are happening. They know it's true, and they're still, even as the window to address this, to avert literal apocalyptic conditions on this planet is closing. They are still hell bent on fighting the necessary change to prevent all of the entire human race and life on this planet from going extinct. They refuse to allow us to do what's necessary to avert that, just so that they can continue to make money polluting the planet. So this is, I mean, it's not information that we didn't already know. Of course we knew that they know what they're doing is destroying the planet. Of course they know that. But it's still different, and it's still incredibly shocking to hear somebody at one of these high level positions at one of these the corporations that are at the center of the climate crisis. It's still shocking to hear them just so flippantly and casually admit that they're playing a role in the extinction of the human race, not just the human race, but all life on this planet. And so it really, you have to, and this is something, a theoretical exercise or philosophical exercise that I want everybody to keep in mind during this entire segment. We know, so like I already said many times over already, we know how serious this is. We know this is an emergency, and we know in our lifetime there's a good chance, if we don't do anything immediately, we're going to be living in apocalyptic conditions during our lifetime, at some point in our lifetime. Many people that are around my age and younger, and definitely people who haven't been born yet. And like he said there, everything they're doing is legal. The pollution and the destruction of the planet, and them actively working against any solutions to solve the problem, and bribing politicians and rigging the political system so that they can continue doing what they're doing. He says it's all legal, right? And so then the question here is, all of these laws are technically made up. They're not real. And they've been made up by corrupt-ass politicians serving their own self-interest. And that's going to be exposed further on when I play you the next video. So these are just made-up laws made by corrupt politicians serving their own self-interest. But we're supposed to respect the law so much so that we aren't allowed to do, like, we aren't allowed to take the necessary steps to literally protect all life on this planet, such as destroying pipelines, for example, or obstructing the building of pipelines, or whatever it is. We're not allowed to do any of those things because they're technically illegal. But everything that they're doing to destroy the planet is legal. So, again, the question is, are we going to let these fictions, these made-up laws, handcuff us and prevent us from literally stopping the climate apocalypse? Because that's really the question that we're left with here. Because the politicians aren't going to do anything about it. And again, I'm going to show you in this video, they're definitely not going to do anything about this. The people responsible for the pollution, they, again, have no intention of changing course. And we have like less than 10 years to literally avert apocalyptic conditions during our lifetime. And are we going to literally allow these laws crafted by corrupt politicians to we're just going to sit here and watch the extinction of the human race because some law says we can't do anything about it, and they bought the judges, they bought the politicians, so we're all going to sit here and die so Exxon could make profit during these fucking end time conditions. Honestly, it's an interesting conversation. I hope you guys think about it in during this video, and I want to hear what you all think is our only option left to avert climate apocalypse. I want to hear what you think in the live chat, and I'm gonna go through it, and I want to have a open discussion about this. But first, I'm gonna play the second video where he talks about how they bribe politicians to not do anything, and they own the politicians, and they know for a damn sure they're never going to do anything about the climate apocalypse. All right, so give me 1 second.
When you have an opportunity to talk to a member of Congress, you know, I liken it to fishing, right? You know, you have bait, you throw that bait out, you know, it's all these opportunities that you use, and to use the fishing analogy again, just to kind of reel them in, because they're a captive audience. They know they need you, and I need them.
Senators pressed to do Exxon's bidding behind closed doors.
You want to be able to go to the chief, and so the chief knows you, that you can go to the chief and say, look, we've got this issue. We need Congressman so-and-so to be able to either introduce this bill. We need him to make a floor statement. We need him to send a letter. You name it. We've asked for everything.
So who are the fish?
I'm Joe Manchin. I approve this act because
The biggest catch, according to Mr. Coy, it's the conservative Democrat Senator Joe Manchin, who famously shot President Obama's cap-and-trade climate bill.
And I'll take dead aim at the cap-and-trade bill.
Joe Manchin, I talk to his office every week. He is the kingmaker, and he's not shy about sort of staking his claim early and completely changing the debate.
Legal declarations show that Senator Manchin has received tens of thousands of dollars from ExxonMobil and its trade associations. Keith McCoy names 10 other senators as crucial to ExxonMobil. Senators Mark Kelly, Chris Coons, Shelley Moore Capito, Kirsten Sinema, John Tester, Maggie Hassan, John Barrasso, Steve Daines, John Cornyn, and Marco Rubio. All bar Kelly and Hassan have taken money from Exxon totaling $117,000. We gave all these senators a chance to respond. None did so. Exxon insists our lobbying efforts are fully compliant with all laws and are publicly disclosed on a quarterly basis.
Corinne Marie, I got you some stuff for your new laptop. Power station, dongle, and a hot.
Nonetheless, a degree of secrecy appears to be key. The last thing Exxon seems to want is open accountability, facing Congress in public.
We don't want it to be us to have these conversations, especially in a hearing. It's getting our associations to step in and have those conversations and answer those tough questions and be the for lack of a better term, the whipping boy for some of these members of Congress.
So he says they hide behind trade bodies to avoid public scrutiny on the Hill.
Our CEO was invited to a hearing from a member of Congress who we know is just going to rip him to shreds when he goes there. The main thing that they're looking at is just to get ExxonMobil in front of a congressional hearing so they can rip us apart.
Big oil, big power, big pressure. The route from the K Street Lobbyist offices to Capitol Hill is very well trodden. From the street to the Hill, we can now reveal the current ExxonMobil battleground and strategy.
It's big, yes. It's bold, yes. And we can get it done.
Just last week, as America continues to suffer heat waves described as apocalyptic and linked to the current climate crisis, President Biden fought to get Congress to pass his $2 trillion showpiece law, linking jobs and infrastructure to massive spending to combat climate change. On Capitol Hill, though, Exxon was also fighting to strip out spending on climate. Forget that, it lobbied. Stick to roads and bridges.
So that's a completely different conversation. When you start to stick to roads and bridges, and instead of a $2 trillion bill, it's an $800 billion bill. If you lower that threshold, you stick to highways and bridges, then a lot of the negative stuff starts to come out. Why would you put in something on emissions reductions on climate change to oil refineries in a highway bill? So, and people say, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So then you get to the germaneness and say that shouldn't be in this bill.
Sure enough, last week Biden's behemoth bill evaporated. A new law may be agreed, but major green initiatives are gone. Coincidence? Or the big oil effect? Nothing illegal, just oiling the wheels of power.
All right, so that clip was a little bit longer. And all right, so let me try to get to do this in order. So he talks about how like they basically own these politicians. They have complete access to these politicians at all times. They're in with their chiefs of staffs and they just make a call and they whatever they want, whatever they need from them, they'll get it. One of the people that he says is biggest in the pocket of Exxon is none other than Joe Manchin. And he says that he speaks with Joe Manchin every week. Imagine, every week you are taking orders from the lobbyists at Exxon. And again, these politicians are supposed to be, they are literally the most powerful people in the country, most powerful people in the world. And it is incumbent on them, it is their responsibility to do something to prevent the extermination of the human race and all other living things on the planet. And instead, they're just all in on the grift, and they're just trying to get the fat in their wallets and get well getting's good. And they aren't doing anything to address the climate apocalypse. In fact, they're making it worse so that they can continue the gravy train. And that's stunning. That is stunning. And then he lists these 10 other senators who he says are key allies to Exxon. And so 10 senators, there's 100 members of the Senate. So one corporation, one giant polluting corporation, has 10% of the Senate in their fucking pocket. And people think we're going to vote our way out of this, right? It's crazy. And then he talks about, then they get into how this has affected the stimulus bill. So this video was recorded, actually. It was published 3 months ago. And it's funny that I'm just seeing this because just yesterday, they announced that they're going to cave to Joe Manchin. Oh, who could have ever guessed? And they're taking the little flimsy, skimpy-ass couple of $billion that they were going to spend on climate change. They're taking that out of the reconciliation bill, explicitly at the direction of Joe Manchin. So this is how it affects legislation. And I'll do some slight pushback on the reporter here, because he made it seem as if Joe Biden was like actually proposing serious solutions to the climate crisis in this reconciliation bill, but it wasn't. He also was in the pocket of industry, and he was never going to propose anything to really challenge them. So he was proposing bullshit, and then he his bad cop Joe Manchin comes out and demands it being even lower, and then he goes along with it. So the whole fucking political process, they are just serving at the whims of industry. And like I said, I keep repeating, to the point where they're going to allow the end of human existence for it. For fucking money. And so that they could keep getting reelected. I mean, these are the most disgusting, these are the sickest people in the fucking country. The sickest people in the world. Because they know exactly what they're doing, right? And then another point I want to make, this is also a damning indictment on Bernie Sanders and all the Justice Democrats. Because they know how dirty they know better than we do. Even after watching that video, they know how dirty this whole system is. They know how much Joe Biden is in the pocket. If I'm not mistaken, the fossil fuel industry was either Joe Biden's number one contributing industry, or number two right after the banks, who also are in on the climate change grift, or the climate the pollution grift to further the accelerate the climate crisis. They were in on it too. So Joe Biden was never going to go against his biggest donors. So they know that. And what are they doing? They're still shilling for Joe Biden. They're still pretending like Joe Biden's a good... They said, AOC literally said he's an honest actor in this whole thing. Taking hundreds of millions of dollars from the industry that is destroying the planet and proposing nothing, fuck all, to actually address it while he has a chance to, while the Democrats control House, Senate, and White House. And then the Justice Democrats, knowing how corrupt this whole shit is, they're still going to come out here and tell you Joe Biden's a good faith actor. And he's actually trying to do something about the climate. Full of shit. And Bernie Sanders, too. He knows that Joe Manchin is getting orders from Exxon lobbyists every fucking week. They're in his office giving him orders. Bernie knows this. And he won't come out and say it. He's still pretending like, oh, Joe Manchin's just he's a moderate, and he's being an obstinate, and he won't say what we all know is the driver of all this behavior: rank corruption. Joe Biden won't propose what's necessary, the trillions of dollars necessary to avert climate apocalypse. He won't do it because he's corrupt. Joe Manchin wants to fight against the bullshit little skimpy ass proposals because he's corrupt. And Bernie knows all of this better than we do, like I said. And he still won't say it. He still won't come out and go scorched earth against his friends in the Democratic Party. And yes, I said go scorched earth. And yes, I said burn all the fucking bridges. Because there are a lot of people out there who think, oh, he's being strategic, right? All of them, they're being strategic, and they can't be too mean to the corrupt oligarchs who are literally marching us all to our death. They can't be too mean to them, because then they won't be able to work with them later. That's bullshit. We know that's bullshit. Bernie knows that's bullshit. You're not going to talk them into not polluting the planet to all of our extermination. You're not just going to talk them into it. They already know all this information, but they're so corrupt that they don't give a fuck. So there's no talking them into it. Bernie knows this, but he still won't call for direct action, people outside their offices, people outside of their homes. He won't do it, even though that's literally the only thing to get the necessary action to avert this catastrophe. He knows it, and he won't do what's necessary. Instead, he's gonna fucking sheepdog everybody into the Democratic Party and pretend like they're actually doing anything to address the climate crisis. So here in this video, expose this top lobbyist at Exxon, expose these 10 senators as just being straight in the pocket of Exxon. Yes, that's true. But everybody else who's going along with this bullshit is they're in on the grift. They continue in the corruption too. So they don't get a pass just because you can't. Exxon isn't directly naming them as their accomplices and partners in crimes, but they know what's going on, and they're still not ringing the alarm and telling everybody how corrupt this entire system is. So I have another video, and this is the last video on from this investigative piece, and so I'm gonna play that video and then I'm gonna come back and break it down. Give me 1 second.
Recent academic studies show what Keith McCoy alleges is the wider Exxon strategy. Say one thing in public, do another in private. For example, it says publicly it supports a carbon tax. Keith McCoy says privately that's just PR.
You know, nobody is going to propose a tax on all Americans. And the cynical side of me says, yeah, we kind of know that. But it gives us a talking point that we can say, well, what is ExxonMobil for? Well, we're for a carbon tax.
And why? Because they're confident it'll never happen in America.
No, it's not going to. A carbon tax isn't going to happen. And the bottom line is it's going to take political courage, political will in order to get something done. And that doesn't exist in politics. It just doesn't.
Exxon told us for more than a decade it's supported an economy-wide price on CO2 emissions.
We're working on ways to provide energy while addressing the risks of climate change.
Take electric cars. It's all about doubt and delay.
You're not going to be able to just switch to battery-operated vehicles or wind for your electricity. And just having that conversation around why that's not possible in the next 10 years is critically important to the work that we do.
But science is screaming at us that we do not have 10 years. Delay, doubt, deflect, the classic hallmarks of modern-day climate crisis denial. And ExxonMobil's alleged involvement in that is thus revealed from the inside tonight, straight from the horse's mouth.
All right, so another damning indictment on Exxon. So we all know that they're full of shit when they come out with all those statements. Oh yeah, we want to improve and we want to help. You know, we believe in climate change too, guys. We're proposing solutions. That's what we're spending all this money lobbying politicians for. We're lobbying them so that we can work together to address this climate crisis. That's what they always. That's the PR. That's the spin that they've been trying to put out recently because it's becoming increasingly more untenable to pretend like this isn't an issue. And he's talking about, oh, they propose this carbon tax. They know damn well it's never going to pass. But they when they ask, hey, you guys know you're going to destroy the planet, right? They're like, yeah, of course, you know, bro. We're not denying. We're not climate change deniers over here. We're proposing solutions to carbon tax. So they go out there, make all this PR campaign so that they can, again, try to appear less like the evil fucking comic book villains that they are. But in reality, they know it's not going to go anywhere. And then they also talk about how part of what they do is a lot of misdirection and try to make it seem like the solutions that are presented by climate activists are these just unrealistic, they can't happen, not in this time frame, maybe a couple decades later. And that's part of the strategy to kick the can down the road, muddy the waters, and avoid taking these conversations, these policy proposals seriously long enough so that they can continue to destroy the planet. And of course, this insidious, nefarious as it gets, gaslighting and all that stuff. But what it also reminded me of when I heard him talk about how they want to like obfuscate around electric cars. Oh, it can't happen in 10 years and all those things like that. That kind of reminded me of, and this is slightly different, so I'm not going to say they're exactly the same, but this kind of reminds me of all of the people who claim to support Medicare for all, but are saying, oh, it can't happen for 10 years. Oh, it can't happen for 15 years or 20 years, whatever. You are helping industry, in that case, the healthcare industry, you're helping them by already coming out and saying, oh, Medicare for all sounds good, but it's not going to happen. Just like Hillary Clinton and her supporters used to do back in 2016, now there's a segment of the left who claims to support Medicare for all, also saying, oh, I know genocidal proportions of the public are dying because of the abysmal for-profit health insurance system that we have in this country. I understand that. And boy, I want something to change. But in 10 years, Joe Biden is president. There's no way we're going to pass Medicare for all while he's president. So that's at least another 4 or 8 years just gone completely. And then by then, the Democrats might not have the House and the Senate. So you're going to have to wait another 5 years. So they're doing, like I said, doing the job of industry and taking the solutions that aren't even debatable at this point. They're 100% necessary and it cannot be avoided. And acknowledging them, but they're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. Oh, it can't happen now. It can't happen now. And like I said, it's not. They don't have the same intent as this fucking ghoul from Exxon, but it effectively is the same thing. Telling people, oh, what needs to happen, it can't happen. Maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, when untold amount of damage is continued to happen at the altar of capitalism and at the altar of profit, but maybe then we'll have a conversation about doing what's necessary. So that it kind of sounded the same to me. So again, the question that I asked earlier in the stream is, they know what they're doing. This is confirmation that they know they're bringing about the end of life on this planet. They know that. And they're still, at this late date, while the window's closing to do something about it, actively working against any solutions to the problem. They know that. They know that they bought the politicians. They know that they bought the judges. And they know that everything that they're doing is technically legal, right? And any possible response that we have left to avert the climate apocalypse, they have made sure, through those corrupt politicians and those corrupt judges, they've made sure that those avenues are considered illegal. So, like I said earlier, these laws are just completely made up. Completely made up. And what is real, and they're made up by corrupt politicians serving their own self-interest. But what is real are the lives that exist on this planet. What is real is the survival of the human race. That is real. Those are real, tangible things. Your life and the life of your family and your living conditions directly impacted by climate change. Those things are real. So is it the moral thing? Is it the just thing that we respect these corrupt laws that will undoubtedly lead to the end of the human civilization? Is it the good thing? Is it the moral thing? Is it the just thing to follow those laws to our death? Or is it time that we move outside the law and do what they say is illegal, which is obstructing the building of these pipelines and damaging these pipelines so that they're no longer operational? So it is a legitimate a question that I propose to you all. I'm not suggesting anything. This is literally the state that we're in right now. And this is the question that we should all be pondering. So I'm just interested in seeing what other people think about this. Death Leopard says they knew since the 70s that they needed to curb CO2 emissions to zero by the 90s to not have any serious repercussions, but opted to keep that info from the public. Yeah, there have been also a bunch of revelations over the decades about how much they've known, when they've known, and all this stuff. But it's usually it is always just like memos that have been leaked or emails that have been published or things like that. But to have one of the literally the top lobbyists on camera talking about how they know they're destroying the planet and how they know they got these politicians in their pockets so that they can continue to destroy the planet, and everything that they're doing is legal. Like I said, it's a shocking thing, and even though we kind of knew how vile these people are, that is, don't become numb to how outrageous that video was. Oh, I see Sonito is talking about asking if I saw a comment and if YouTube deleted it. What I noticed the other day was there are a bunch of comments that are being held for review. So YouTube just automatically puts some comments, like they don't, like if I were to look for comments on the video, it won't show up. I'd have to like specifically go through a filter and try to find those comments. And I noticed that there were a bunch of comments there from like regulars to the show. So that most likely is probably what happened. If you don't have, like, if you posted something and you don't see it on the channel, I don't think I've ever deleted a comment ever. So actually, I've never deleted a comment. So if you posted something and it's not there, it definitely wasn't me. Unknown Space Pioneer says there are people like this in every industry. Yeah, that's true. Every single industry is exactly like this. With the climate apocalypse, or with the energy industry, they're the ones who are literally playing with the existence of the human race. So it's particularly gross seeing how much influence they have over politicians. But any industry you can think of, the healthcare industry, politicians are just as much in the pocket. Wall Street, financial institutions, real estate, the military-industrial complex, they are the whole system is corrupt. And again, like we just did this fun video about this one industry. This is about one company, actually, and how much they own Congress and the Senate. Actually, it was just the Senate. So, like this whole electoral process, these politicians, they're never going to do what is necessary when it comes to climate change, when it comes to the healthcare crisis, when it comes to the homelessness and the real estate crisis in this country, the endless wars. They're never going to do what is necessary, what the moment requires on their own. They will only do it when they're forced through direct action. And I will never be budged from that. Zani2 says, anyone that tells me that blocking traffic to pipeline is illegal, I say, well, going into segregated restaurants was also illegal. Well, say sorry, kids, couldn't save the planet because Ordinance 6294. That's exactly what I'm saying. There have been times in history where the laws were clearly unjust and they were corrupt and they were terrible for society, and people had to push back against that. And we're at that point with the climate crisis. Again, with these pipelines, we're just going to sit here and watch them destroy. We're going to sit here and watch them kill us, literally kill us and our families and our future generations, and not do anything about it because some laws told us to. I mean, again, I can't imagine trying to explain this to children 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Yeah, we could have done something, but like you said, Ordinance 6294, man, sorry, you're going to die. You're going to die a horrible death, and we're probably going to be eating bugs and dodging fire tornadoes and unprecedented hurricanes and water shortages for the rest of our lives. But, man, those laws at the time, we couldn't do anything about it. That is not a compelling argument to me. Arturo says, of course, big oil owns politicians. That's why ASRC and Exxon fund Dan Sullivan and Lisa Murkowski. Jody Okafor says, the whole system is corrupted. There is no way to change anything but a revolution of the people. Zanito says, oh my God, Jamie Foxx is in on it. I think that was from when there was an ad that played in the middle of the video I showed you. because I just took I screen recorded the video from YouTube, and I forgot to cut that part out. So there was like a 5-second ad that played with Jamie Foxx in there. I think that's what you're talking about. DOG says, Unapologetic, I spam Door, Jackson, and many others this before, but check Shadow Ban Refugee and Frank analysis on the infrastructure bill. This new segment seems to be giving Biden a huge pass. Are you talking about my segment was giving Biden a pass? Because I don't think I was giving Biden a pass. You talking about Franco from Frank Analysis. If you could clear that up in the chat. Jody also says, this video shows how much big money and corporations make policy. Us plebs are just here to make the elites more rich. That's what they're acting like. Henry Cover says, Dontel, you're, as always, dead on 100%, especially about Bernie. Yeah, his fucking sellout ass. He knows how corrupt this whole thing is. And the fact that he still thinks that these are all his good friends, his good friend Joe Biden. Oh, he literally said Joe Biden isn't corrupt. He didn't just say Joe Biden isn't corrupt. He went out of the way to throw his own members of his campaign under the bus because they objectively pointed out the ways that Joe Biden's corrupt. And then Bernie went out of his way to shame them and leap to the defense of his good friend Joe Biden and say he's not corrupt. They know this. They fucking know this. And they're still pretending like we can just talk nicely to Democratic leadership and it's going to do something about this climate crisis. So all of them, they're all in their own form of climate denial because they're pretending like it's not as serious as it is, and they're pretending like the current trajectory and the status quo, it leaves any opportunity, any possibility that they're going to address this problem without radical change or without radical pressure from the outside. Zanitu says they are literally laughing in our face about political courage existing. How does anyone still believe in electoralism anymore? Yeah. And I get that probably one of the biggest obstacles to getting people to see what we already know is that they just don't. We can't confirm that they've seen all the information that we've seen, all the videos that I've shown you, all the segments that I've covered. We can't some of them who follow politics, there's no excuse. They should definitely know this. But regular people, they don't see what we're seeing. But as for the people who follow politics and do this for a living, the fucking journalists and the people in new media, it's getting harder and harder for me to think that they are just like cynically, they understand that electoralism isn't going to do anything, but they're just too lazy and not willing to really step outside of the duopoly and demand what's necessary. So they're just going to coast off of the status quo. Sanisu says, I voted pretty hard before lots of times. Like, I bet the hell out of the handle. Didn't make a difference, yeah. But, Zanito, let me just tell you that. Let me urge you, let me implore you to try it one more time in the 2020 midterms. Can you please vote extra hard in the midterms? And maybe they won't all sentence us to death for the corporate overlords, profits.